All right, what is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another KC Sports Report live stream. Michael Darcy, your host here as always, and today it's just going to be me. So you're stuck with me, but I was going to try to get a Chargers fan on here, but that actually ended up not working out. That fell through, and Lucas Murphy and Josh Fan are preoccupied tonight. So, like I said, you got to suffer through me, but we're going to break down this Chiefs Chargers game. I guess preview it rather. And I'm also going to take your thoughts. I haven't been doing a great job at doing Q&As, and I want to be able to do that. I've been really, really busy, and today, quite honestly, could be a shorter stream because I'm just tired. I'm very tired, but it's not going to stop me from talking about this game because there's a lot to talk about. And honestly, I'll wait for more people to get in here, but this could be a make or break game. I'm just going to say it like that. What is going on, Aaron Morrow? I appreciate you being here. Philip, Kansas man, I appreciate you being in the lobby. Marlon, appreciate it. Going over the injury report because I think that's pretty important right now. Chris Jones was limited in practice with a wrist injury, and Frank Clark was also limited with a hamstring. And Frank Clark's not a surprise because Frank Clark just seems to get hurt every week. But Chris Jones being limited with that wrist, I didn't even know he had a wrist injury, so that's definitely something to keep an eye out on. Because we're going to need Chris Jones in this game if you want to have a chance to win. And it really is unfortunate that Chris Jones is our only supplier of pressure, but that's just kind of where we are right now. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Frank Clark's not that guy. You released Taco Charlton, who's just signed with the Steelers, which don't even get me started about that. I was not happy about that. And Mike Dana's clearly not ready. And it's just like you don't have any pass rush besides Chris Jones. So if you get rid of Chris Jones, you've got no pressure. And right now, the Chiefs don't really have any pressure as it is. So Frank Clark and Chris Jones were both limited in practice today, but we're gonna give it some time. I think that they'll probably practice tomorrow, and they should be good to go for Sunday. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. Now, getting over to the Chargers side of things, Joey Bosa did not practice with a foot/ankle injury. Chris Harris Jr. did not practice with a shoulder injury. And then Justin Jones did not practice with a calf injury. So those are some pretty significant pieces that have not played. I know that Chris Harris is a pretty big part of their secondary. Derwin James did practice today, but yesterday he didn't. So, there's just kind of some things to take a look at. And who knows, maybe Derwin James is a late scratch or maybe he's not fully healthy. And even looking at the Chiefs side of things, I saw that Clyde was sick yesterday. L'Jarius Sneed had an injury. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Chiefs and the Chargers could both be in better shape. But going over the game, because I think this is definitely going to be a good matchup. I wanted to talk about the defense first for both teams. Now, it's no surprise the Chiefs defense is bad. I mean, you can't get around it. The Chiefs defense is bad. Some might say it's historically bad. Right now, it's just very, very bad. Looking at it, the Chiefs have allowed 404 yards, which is the most in the NFL. But the Chargers have also allowed 324 yards through the first two games, which is third in the NFL. So the Chiefs and the Chargers both have something in common, and that's not being able to stop the run, which for the Chiefs, I would say it's going to be a good thing, but we haven't seen anything from Clyde. So, oh my gosh, there's just so much I can talk about. I can get off on a huge tangent about Clyde, but sticking to the defense theme, the Chiefs are giving up 6 yards per carry. Oh my God. And they gave up 6.1 against the Ravens. I do remember that. But the Chargers are giving up 5.6. So like I said, the Chargers haven't been better defensively, at least stopping the run. And that is something to look at. Now, where I get concerned is I don't know if Clyde can take advantage of that. And it's really sad that I'm having these thoughts about our first round running draft or our first round draft pick from last year, but he just hasn't been that guy. And I don't care what you say. It's just, you've got to look at it objectively. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was drafted with a 32nd overall pick in the first round of the draft. He hasn't been good. And, I want Clyde to be good. I am a huge Clyde fan. I think that this Chiefs offense would benefit greatly from Clyde being the running back that we thought he could be. But the reality of the situation is he hasn't been that guy. He has not been the running back that we drafted him to be. And I know that's hard for a lot of Chiefs fans to accept, but that's just kind of where we're at right now. Now, I do think he can turn it around. I think that the biggest problem, at least that I'm seeing from him, is it looks like he's thinking too much. There's a lot of instances where the Chiefs' offensive line will make a lane for him, and he'll just cut the wrong direction and run right into a defender. And I think that that's a product of overthinking, not using your instincts. I mean, Clyde's a smart player. He's got good instincts. I mean, hell, there was a reason why he was the first running back taken off the board in 2020 rather. There is a reason why he was drafted so high. I think that he's got that potential, but we're going to have to see something. There's got to be a game. And we can't go back to the Texans game last year, folks, where he put up like 100-something yards and he really looked great. We can't go back to that game and say that Clyde's arrived. We've got to see that marquee statement game that Clyde puts on a clinic. We have not seen that this season. And to be quite honest with you, we haven't seen it since, I guess, the Bills game last year. We have got to see Clyde step up and do something in this game because the Chargers defense, they're giving up 5.6 yards a carry. I mean, they're the third worst rush defense in the NFL. That is not – the Chiefs should have a field day against this defense, just like the Chargers should have a field day. Just like the Chargers should have a field day against our defense, because both defenses have not been remotely good. And I think that that's a very big problem for the Chiefs. A lot of people have been overreacting. I saw on Twitter after the Chiefs lost to the Ravens, a lot of Chiefs fans kind of reacted as if the sky was falling. I mean, it's one loss, guys. I mean, how entitled are we as Chiefs fans to the point where we freak out about a September loss? If this game was in December and you watch the defense give up 261 yards on the ground, yeah, we're going to have a problem. We're going to be a little bit concerned. But it's so early. I mean, it is so early in the season. Historically, Spags' defense hasn't even turned the corner until about week 8 or 9. So there's still a lot of time. Now, I understand why you want to see results. I mean, this is the same defense and the same scheme that we've had for the past 3 years, and we haven't seen any improvement. But I think that, a lot of Chiefs fans need to understand that they were going up against the two best rushing teams in the NFL, in the Browns and the Ravens. And this defense also isn't designed to stop the run. Now, that sounds bad. It sounds terrible because you should try to stop everything. But this Chiefs defense, and you could see it in the Ravens game, this Chiefs defense is geared towards the third and long situations in which you have to get a stop. It's because they built this defense up through the secondary. That's where their strength is. So I think that, that's a good thing because it's really hard to watch your defense get thrown all over, but it's also really hard to watch your defense get torched on the ground. I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose situation, but I think that the Chiefs' pass defense has gotten so much better over the past couple of years, and it's unfortunate that we went up against the two best rushing teams in the league. I think that once we see these teams start to throw the ball or try to throw the ball, they're not going to have that success. But at the same time, why would they throw the ball if you're averaging 6 yards a carry? It just doesn't make sense. But ultimately, I think that they're going to get better because I think that there's a lot of time in the season. But yeah, that's just kind of my defensive rant right now. And we're going to get in to more of it later because something came out that Spags just said. And don't even get me started. It's about Sorensen versus Juan Thornhill and who should start. We're going to get into that later. I will say for the 13 people watching this, I appreciate it. Ask some questions. I'm going to try to get into some of the questions as well. It is going to be a shorter live stream tonight. I have about an hour, but that should be plenty of time to break down and preview this game. Now, getting over to my personal beliefs on this game, I think the Chiefs have got to come out and the Chiefs have got to play in this game like this is their season. Now, that sounds extremely drastic, and I understand that. It's the first divisional game of the year. This is the team that plays the Chiefs extremely well. I mean, over the past couple years, I mean, they beat us in 2018 with Phillip Rivers. I'll never get over that. I mean, the Chiefs defense let up that 2-point conversion. I think they beat us. Oh, I can't even remember the final score. I think it was in the 30s, though, and they won by like 2. And that game was brutal, and that was with Phillip Rivers. And then last year, week 17, they beat us with Justin Herbert. But, the Chiefs kind of chose to lose that game. But the Chargers are no pushover. I mean, we saw in week 2 last year, they took us to overtime. So this Chargers team is going to play us tight, and we've got to find a way to come out of this game with the win because, these divisional games this year are crucial. I mean, obviously every year that they're crucial, but when you look at the division this year, the Raiders 2-0, they're in first place. The Broncos are 2-0. They're in the second place. Chiefs are in third place, 1-1, and the Chargers are in fourth place, also 1-1. But the problem is, let's play devil's advocate here. The Chiefs come out on Sunday and don't give it their best shot, and they fall to the Chargers at home. If that was the case, the Raiders would be, I believe, 2 games up in the division. The Broncos would get a lead. The Chiefs would be last in the division. And I'm not saying they can't crawl out of that, but, part of the Chiefs' success over the past, ever since Andy Reid took over, was beating up on divisional teams. It's really easy to coast the rest of the season when you beat the divisional teams because the Chiefs really haven't ever been, at least that I can remember in the Mahomes era, where a game in the division drastically matters and the Chiefs need help. The Chiefs have never needed help winning the division by anybody else. It's always been in their control. But if you lose this game, and don't get me wrong, I think the Chargers are a great team. But if you lose this game, you're 0-1 in the division. You got 5 games left. The Raiders are going to be a tough game. The Broncos, even though they've been a pushover team for the past 5 years, they're going to be a good team. And I think that the Chargers are going to put up a pretty good fight at home later in the season. So the Chiefs have to take this game pretty seriously because you don't want to see them fall in a bigger deficit because at that point, you're going to need to hope that the Raiders lose. You're going to need to hope that the Broncos lose. And when you look at their schedule, I mean, let's face it, the Broncos and the Raiders have been bottom dwellers in the AFC West, so their schedule is a cakewalk. The Chiefs have a first-place schedule. I mean, that's what happens when you win games. And so the Chiefs have a tough schedule, probably the toughest in the division. And with that being said, they're going to have to find a way to win these division games because if they don't, Chiefs might be out of the division. But I'm not overreacting. I still think they're going to win the division. But I think that just kind of goes to show you how important this game is. At least in my mind, this is a must win. I mean, I guess every week in the NFL is a must win. But to me, I personally believe the Chiefs have to win this game. But, the Chiefs are actually favored by 6.5, I believe. I think it's going to be close. We're going to have to wait and see. Austin Eckler has been a guy that has been pretty good in the past, but he hasn't really jumped off the stat sheet this season. But, we're 2 weeks in, so we're going to give him some time. But Austin Eckler could be a problem for the Chiefs defense. I don't want to say that because we obviously need this Chiefs defense to step up, but I'm just saying that Austin Eckler could have a very good game against this depleted linebacking core. We need Willie Gay back. I think that, I'm a big fan of Nick Bolton. I actually wrote an article about him on KC Kingdom. Go check that out if you haven't. But I think Nick Bolton and Anthony Hitchens are good. But when you get to Ben Neiman, it just kind of the depth chart goes down. I mean, significantly. I personally think there's a very big jump off between Nick Bolton and Ben Neiman. There's just a big gap. And so I think that that's going to be a problem. And I want to see how the Chiefs adjust because, if the Chiefs defense comes out here on Sunday and just doesn't show any backbone whatsoever, and they just allow the Chargers to do basically whatever they want, let's say Herbert throws for 300, Eckler rushes for 100, Chiefs aren't going to win this game. I mean, let's be honest here. We have got to see this Chiefs defense step up and show us something. They've got to do something in terms of improvement because going off the past 2 weeks, this defense is the worst in the league. And I do not like that. I would hope that the guys on this team have more pride than that. And, going over why I think they're so bad, obviously they can't stop the run, but, looking at this defense, and I'm sorry I haven't gotten to any of your questions yet. I will. Do not get me wrong. But I think that the difference between this year's Chiefs defense and defenses in the past is not that significant. It's not like they got rid of major pieces. The only guy that I can really think that left was Bashaud Breeland. And Bashaud Breeland really wasn't I guess Damian Wilson of the linebacking core, but I don't think those guys are enough to make this defense. I don't think that them departing is enough to make this defense 32nd in the league. I just, something is going on. And, I think that a lot of people have said that it's Spag's complex scheme and that a lot of these players are having trouble understanding that. And I get that. It's a complex scheme. But at the same time, they've been in this scheme for 3 years now. They run the 4-3. They've been in the 4-3 for 3 years now, and they haven't had that many defensive changes. If anything, you added at positions this year. Jerron Reed, you traded for Mike Hughes. I guess the pass rushers are pretty weak behind Chris Jones, but this team defensively should have the pieces, and we're just not seeing it this year, at least up until this point, and we're gonna have to wait and see. But I think that we're gonna have to see some fight. If we just see this Chiefs defense give up, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really, really bad because we need to see that fight. At least in the past, it was difficult to score against this Chiefs team. I get last year, I think they had the worst ranked red zone defense or something like that, but we got to just see some fight. That's personally what I'm going to be looking out for, is how does this Chiefs defense adjust from getting smacked in the mouth on Sunday Night Football? How are they going to respond? That's the question that I'm wondering, and hopefully it can surprise me. But, going over the offenses, what can I say? Patrick Mahomes had a really good game last week. Didn't end up winning, but I think that Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, they're going to do their thing. I do think we saw a lot of depth in terms of the receiving core. I like what I saw from Byron Pringle. I like what I saw from Demarcus Robinson, of all people. And even Mecole Hardman had a pretty good game too. So it's just like, I think that that's a good sign from the receiving core, because, that was a big concern coming into this season that, hey, maybe this Chiefs team needs a number 2 wide receiver. They could obviously use another one after Sammy left, but I don't think receiver's as big of a problem as, say, the defensive line. I just, right now, I don't see that. But, going over to the Chargers offense, they got Justin Herbert, who has been electric. He's a fun player to watch. They got Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler. He's going to be a force in this game. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. The Chargers have a pretty good offense. And, that offensive line they revamped this offseason, I believe they signed center Corey Linsley from the Packers. He's a guy that's going to anchor down the line. And they also drafted that kid. I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was Slater in the draft. I'm getting Slater and Darisaw confused, but I think that they drafted Slater as their left tackle. So, we're seeing a completely separate and different Chargers offensive line. And that's kind of concerning just because the Ravens had a terrible offensive line in the past 2 weeks, and yet we still couldn't do anything against them. This Chiefs defense doesn't have any pass rushers. So we're going to have to wait and see. I hope they can get some pressure, because if you let Justin Herbert sit back there and pick us apart, it's not going to go over well. Justin Herbert won Offensive Rookie of the Year last year for a reason. He is that good. Or maybe he won Rookie of the Year. I think it was Justin Jefferson that won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah, so honestly, I think that both offenses are going to have their way in this game. It's going to be which defense can make a stop. If the Chiefs defense can make a few more stops than the Chargers defense, they'll win this game. But if the Chargers defense comes out here and stops the run, stops Clyde, and they do it efficiently, they're going to win this game. And the Chiefs are going to have a pretty big problem on their hands. But yeah. Let's get to the topic that I've been just chomping at the bit to talk about. And I want to get your input on this as well. So type in the comments what you believe. So Steve Spagnuolo was talking to the media the other day, and he said that Dan Sorensen has looked better in camp and has earned the right to start over Juan Thornhill. Dan Sorensen has missed 9 tackles through the first 2 games of the season. And I like Dan Sorensen. I've always liked Dirty Dan. I think that he comes up clutch. He makes those big time plays. I get that. But Juan Thornhill has to be starting on this team. He has to be there because Juan has looked good in the first 2 games. When he plays, he only played, I believe it was 7 or 9 snaps in the first, maybe it was 11. He played 11 snaps against the Ravens. That's not enough. Dan Sorensen is at his best when he is able to play that robber, when he doesn't have to be the strong safety on this team because he just gets beat. I mean, it's kind of sad to watch, but I also don't understand why you can say that and why you can say that Dan Sorensen should start when you look at Juan Thornhill and he has looked significantly better in the sample size in which we saw. So I don't get it. I do not get it at all. And don't get me wrong, I like Dan Sorensen. I think that he should be a number 3 safety on this team coming off the bench. But Dan Sorensen has never been a good starter. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Dan Sorensen's been a guy that could come off the bench and be productive, and he always comes up clutch, but he's not a starter. And there's a reason why he has never started. And that's why the Chiefs spent a 2nd-round draft pick in 2019 on getting Juan Thornhill. Juan Thornhill's healthy. Juan Thornhill's ready. And I guess it's nothing in-house. I mean, he's not skipping meetings. He's not being a menace in the locker room. There is no rhyme or reason as to why Dan Sorensen should be starting over Juan Thornhill, because it's not like he's being a problem in the locker room or in team meetings. They're just refuse to get away from this Dan Sorensen has got to be the guy mindset, and it hasn't worked so far. I think that that's almost been a problem, at least of late. The Chiefs love and they just feel so confident in the guys that they have, and I get that. But Ben Niemann should not be playing on this team. He is a 4 or a 5, and he is starting. And I get that. It's kind of like, Dan Sorensen and Ben Niemann are very similar in a couple ways. But the biggest way I could describe their role is they're great players coming off the bench doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, if you give them a bigger role than what they are good at and what they thrive at, they're going to struggle. Ben Niemann has really struggled through the first 2 weeks of the season. Sorensen has not been that guy. And I think that part of it was because Tyrann Mathieu was on the COVID list, but now you don't have that problem. Juan Thornhill is ready. Tyrann Mathieu is obviously ready to play. It just doesn't make sense. And I think that if you're trying to win games, Juan Thornhill gives you that best opportunity. If you are trying to ultimately get back to the Super Bowl and correct last year's shortcomings, you've got to find a way to win. Sorry, I got away from what I was thinking. You've got to find a way to let Juan Thornhill do his thing. Because last year, or maybe 2019, so to speak, his rookie year, he looked fantastic. And if it wasn't for him tearing his ACL in week 17, he was going to have a really, really good shot at being like the Chiefs defense rookie of the year. He looked really, really good. But yeah, I wish we could see Juan Thornhill. I think that over time he's going to win that job, but we need to win this game now. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. But I'll try to get to some of your questions now because I am going to try to keep this a shorter stream. I'm thinking like 30 to 45 minutes because I'm beat. But I definitely wanted to talk about this game, give my thoughts, going over my notes. I mean, yeah, the main thing that I need to see is this Chiefs defense react. I want to see how they bounce back from getting embarrassed against the Ravens. Let's be honest. They let Lamar Jackson do whatever he wanted to do. They let guys that came in off the street, like I think it was Latavius Murray for the Ravens, just do whatever he wanted. And that is inexcusable. I would hope that this Chiefs defense has more pride. I need to see something from them. But let's see. Let's get to some of these questions. Would you rather bring back Eric Berry or keep the Honey Badger? Eric Berry's washed. Hate to say that, but Eric Berry's not playing any more football. Yeah, that's another thing. I think that Jerick McKinnon, and I just tweeted this out actually, which go follow the show on Twitter if you haven't already. That's at KC Sports Report. I tweeted this out. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire continues to struggle, do not be surprised if Jerick McKinnon gets the opportunity and he takes the most of it. I mean, I would not be surprised if we saw Jerick McKinnon get a larger role in the offense and he thrives, because I think that Jerick McKinnon has a lot of stuff that Clyde doesn't. I think McKinnon is faster than Clyde. He's shiftier than Clyde. And, they're debatably the same in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield. But okay, that's another thing. Clyde has really, really struggled, and they have not tried to feed him in the receiving game at all. We're not remotely, not even looked at him as an option to catch the football, which is a problem. You would think that a guy coming out of LSU that was praised for his ability to catch the football would get more of an opportunity to do what he does best, and he hasn't, which might be a red flag. Let's see. Does he need time to get used to the O-line? Are you referring to Clyde, or who are you referring to here, Aaron? I'm going to assume that it's with Clyde because that's kind of coming off of what I just read. I don't think it's really that, because, the offensive line, even though they're going to need a little bit more time to gel, they're going to continue getting better together. But Clyde wasn't good when he had open gaps to run in. That's the problem. I mean, it wasn't like this offensive line, like last year, wasn't giving him anything to work with. This offensive line has given him some gaps to run in, and he's just chose to cut back the wrong way, and he gets tackled. And that's a product of overthinking. You cannot, you've got to let your instincts take over as a football player. And right now, Clyde's not doing that. And that's a problem. Yeah, I think the Chargers are an underrated team. I even said that I think the Chargers could make the playoffs this year. And I don't usually say that lightly. I do think that they are good enough to make the playoffs as a wild card, or hell, no, they're not going to win this division. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to get that far carried away. But the Chargers, I think, are a playoff team. I mean, we're probably going to get two AFC West teams that make the playoffs this year. At least I would hope. I think that's probably realistic, but maybe three. I mean, I don't know. What is the impact of the Chiefs' offensive line on Clyde? I kind of addressed this with Aaron's question. I think the Chiefs' offensive line has been fine. I think they've given Clyde holes, but Clyde just hasn't reacted correctly, and that's a problem. But I do think that hopefully it gets better with time, just because I think that the offensive line is going to continue to get better, and I think they're going to continue making holes for Clyde to run through. It's just a matter of if Clyde takes the right gap. I mean, that's a very big concern right now. And if he starts to take the right gap, I mean, once he hits the seam, hopefully he's gone. But we haven't seen it, and I think that we're going to have to see it in order for us to be more confident with Clyde. Is it time to bring back Damien Williams from the Bears? I mentioned this actually in an episode of the Kingdom Crew podcast that I do with Josh Fan and Lucas Murphy, who would normally be joining me tonight, but they had some previous obligations, so it's just me. But I would love that. I think that Damien Williams was the total package, and I think that we're kind of noticing how much of an impact the loss of Damien Williams is. I think that honestly, they kind of put all their eggs in the Darrell Williams basket, and then when Jerick McKinnon became available, they got him. But I mean, let's be honest here. I think that if they're not going to play Jerick McKinnon and Darrell Williams more than Clyde right now, there was no shot they played. There was no shot they played Damian more. So I think that obviously, it would be nice to bring back Damian Williams. I think that he would offer something, but I don't think the Bears would trade him back. And honestly, the Chiefs are so stuck in their ways. I can't see them making a trade to get him back. Let's see. I am really, really far back on the questions. Let's see. Ooh, who will stop Keenan Allen? That is the question. Who will stop Keenan Allen? I think that's gonna be a good matchup because I could see the Honey Badger being on Keenan Allen, but I could also see them giving it to Snead, and have Tyrann Mathieu play more of a free safety kind of role. Um, I could see them putting Snead on Keenan Allen, which is going to be actually a really good matchup. But I would be kind of upset if they put Travarius Ward on Keenan Allen because Travarius Ward has not been good at all this season. The miscommunication, which led to a touchdown last week, and he just gets burnt like every single game. And it's just like, all right, I get the story. He was a UDFA that was able to fight on to the Cowboys, and we ended up trading for him, but he's not good. I mean, okay, I'll have more respect. He should not be a starting caliber player on a championship team. That's just my thoughts on it. I mean, I think that he could be a great off the bench guy, but you've got guys like DeAndre Baker, who's been inactive for the first 2 games. I would rather see DeAndre Baker in the secondary. And like Rashad Fenton, I would rather see Rashad Fenton in the secondary than Travarius Ward because Rashad Fenton adds an element of physicality that Travarius Ward just quite frankly doesn't. And I think that that is enough to get him on this field over Ward because Ward hasn't been good in the first 2 weeks. I'm also a big Rashad Fenton fan. Let's see. Who's the best linebacker in the NFL? Shoot, definitely nobody on the Chiefs. I don't know. Maybe one of the Bucks linebackers. Maybe I don't know. I could be completely off bases with that, but based off how they played us in the Super Bowl, those linebackers are fierce. Oh my god, I just I just read the chat. If you had the choice, would you get Damian Williams again or keep Clyde? I wish we would have kept Damian, but that's just kind of my thoughts. All these running back questions. Do you wish we kept Derek Gore? Gore did amazing in the preseason. I wish we never got rid of him. He's on the practice squad right now, which is a good thing. But I think the Chiefs have the answer at running back. It's in Jared McKinnon and Darrell Williams. Play those guys more, and you're going to see a better impact. You're going to see more of a result. I still think that Clyde has the potential to be a good running back. It's just not clicking right now. And I think that we're going to have to see something from someone. And I don't know if Derek Gore was that guy, but I think that Jerick McKinnon can definitely be the running back that comes off the bench and provides a spark for this Chiefs offense. Yeah, run defense has been a problem for a long time. Let's see. Will the Raiders beat us this year? I can't see it personally. I think the Chiefs are going to lose maybe one game in the division. Before the season started, I had the Chiefs falling to the Chargers in that second game in Los Angeles. The Chiefs are coming off of a short week against the Raiders. They play the Raiders on Thursday night, or maybe they play the Raiders on Sunday. Then when they play the Chargers on Thursday, I think that's going to be a game which the Chiefs lose. Just being honest with you, but I don't think that they fall to the Raiders this year. But I mean, heck, this division is really, really good. So I would not be surprised. The fact that Ben Neiman and Ward are UDFA starting is crazy. Yeah, and it's also not really a coincidence that those are two of the worst players on the defense. I'm just saying. And, that's always been a question that Chiefs fans have asked recently is why aren't we getting any investment on our draft picks? And why do we have to continuously invest in the linebacking core? you really have only invested in the linebacking core, at least through the draft, in the past 2 years. You spent a second round draft pick on Willie Gay, who was a very much a developmental guy. He was going to need some time. And then Nick Bolton this year, and it looks like both of those guys are going to be good. But, depth is really, really important. And you're an injury away, like Willie Gay going down, where Ben Neiman is a starting caliber linebacker on this roster because you have nobody else. So I think that the linebacking core would have more depth. I wish they would have kept Damian Wilson. I think that Damian Wilson was really underrated. And for what he did for this team, he went to the Jags. You're telling me that you couldn't have brought him back and you could have cut Ben Neiman? Don't even. I know you could have. If you have the choice, would you keep Tyreek or get Hopkins? Tyreek for this offense and the purpose of what they do. Tyreek is a better threat for Mahomes. I mean, when you got a guy in Mahomes that can throw the ball 70 yards through the air, having a guy that can run a 4.2 and is the fastest guy in the league, yeah, give me that. Let's see. Oh, shoot. I want to see more Jody Fortson. Now, unfortunately, I think that Jody Fortson is just going to be a very, very small part of the offense this year. And I hate to say that because I think that, he provides more as a receiver than Blake Bell and probably Noah Gray. So I would love to see him. But at the same time, I think that, we've seen in the past, the Chiefs will add a guy that might not make the roster normally. Like in the past, they've added Darwin Thompson. But Darwin Thompson never ended up playing because he just wasn't really that good. So, I mean, I'm not saying Jody Fortson is not that good. I think he's definitely got talent, but his role in the offense this year is going to be really, really small. I mean, I think he had a catch last game, but maybe expect him to get 1 to 2 catches a game, and anything after that's a bonus. Do you think we can stop Eckler? He always seems to toast our D-line. Being honest with you, no. I mean, based off of what we have allowed through the first 2 weeks against the Ravens, at least, they had no-name running backs just killing us. That's concerning because Austin Eckler has a lot more talent than anybody on that Ravens running back roster. But Eckler's also a little bit banged up, so we're going to have to wait and see kind of how that goes. But I think that Austin Eckler is going to have himself a game. But, if they could hold him to like 80 to 90 yards, that's a win. I mean, going off of how bad this defense, the rush defense has been, even giving up 80 to 90 yards is a positive. And that might be concerning just based off of how bad this defense has been, that the bar is so incredibly low. But that's just kind of where I'm at right now. I don't like the confidence this had to give the Raiders. Your thoughts? Yeah, I mean the Raiders had to be like, oh, well, we beat the Ravens. Are we the caliber of the Chiefs now? And the Raiders. And I hate to give props to the Raiders because I hate the Raiders. But Ash, if you're watching this, your team did a fantastic job this offseason. You didn't ignore anything. You brought in linebackers that have been pretty solid with KJ Wright, and you traded for that. Who was the one dude you traded for? I can't remember. Let me know in the chat who the Raiders traded for along the linebacking core. But they signed Yannick Ngakoue. They have Max Crosby. That front four is lethal. So I think that losing to the Ravens in the fashion in which they did, I think it definitely gave the Raiders some confidence. But I don't like it at all. I think that maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing, though, because if they're so confident that they can beat the Chiefs are going to come into that game because it's a divisional game. They always play divisional games well. They're going to come in this game with a chip on their shoulder, and I think that they're gonna show some stuff against the Raiders because I've heard a lot of people say within the organization that the Raiders are enemy number 1 in the division, the most hated team. So Um, Anthony Hitchens is getting kind of old now. Should we keep him? I mean, his contract's up after this year. I think that you kind of wait and see where he's at in terms of how well he's playing. Actually, I think he was the only. Let me check that really quickly because it was on Twitter earlier about Anthony Hitchens, because Anthony Hitchens actually hasn't been as bad as a lot of people kind of believed, and that's good because Anthony Hitchens was a guy in his first year that really wasn't that good, but I thought that all things considered he was solid. But let's try to get the stats at least. Where is that? Anthony Hitchens. Oh man. Oh yeah, follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. That's at KC Sports Report. Yeah, Anthony Hitchens was all over the place against the Ravens. According to PFF, he played the most snaps in week 2 among linebackers who didn't give up a catch and had the 7th highest coverage grade among linebackers. So Anthony Hitchens has been pretty good, and you love to see that. So I personally maybe would bring him back to a 1-year deal after this year. But the cap is going to be an issue this next year. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I would like to bring him back. I'm really, really far back. Should we get rid of Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I'm not impressed with his 1.2 season. You shouldn't get rid of him because he was a first-round draft pick. I mean, you're not gonna trade him and get something miraculously better. Like, you're not gonna get anywhere close to a first-round draft pick. Maybe you get a 5th or a 6th, maybe, and that's assuming that a team just really, really likes him. But let's be real here. Clyde has not been worth a good draft pick. So I personally don't think you should get rid of him because you're not going to get anything in return. And unfortunately, he kind of is one of your best options among the running backs. You know, I wish we would have kept Kareem Hunt in hindsight because this offense would have been unbelievable. But we don't have Kareem Hunt anymore. And Clyde was the so-called apparent to that. And guys, I want to make this clear. I haven't given up on Clyde, but I can also be realistic in the sense that he hasn't been the guy that we drafted him to be. And that's just the harsh truth of the situation. He has not been that good. But at the same time, I do think that you should not bail quite yet. There is some hope. You've got him for 5 years, I believe, because the rookie contract is 4. And since he was drafted in the first round, that gives him a 5th-year option. He's going to be here for a while, guys. I don't think you re-sign him after his contract's done, but Clyde's not going anywhere. So we better hope he gets better. But I wouldn't be surprised if you gave Jared McKinnon more snaps and he just took that job. Would not be surprised. Let's see. CEH gave me McCoy vibes. Fumble on a crucial moment. Yeah. And here's the thing, and I think I said this in the post-game show, either on my channel or on Josh's channel. I don't blame that loss on Clyde. And that sounds very strange to a lot of people because he quite literally kind of did fumble the game away. But, you know, this is going to sound really weird, but we couldn't have seen, like, it's not a good thing if Mahomes bailed us out again. We have to see something in terms of improvement from this defense. And let's be honest, if Mahomes, let's just play devil's advocate here and say that Clyde never fumbles that ball. The Chiefs kick a field goal. They win the game. They win. And they're 2-0 right now. The defense is not going to be talked about in the way in which it has been. And I think that they would have been complacent. They've been like, all right, you know, we gave up 261 yards on the ground, but hey, I mean, we won the game. I mean, Mahomes cannot bail this team out every single week. He's done his fair share of bailing this team out. But at the same time, we need to see a complete teams win championships, not players. Players go a long way in winning championships. I mean, let's be honest, but you know, one singular player is not going to win a championship. One side of the ball is not good enough to win a championship. You need both sides coming together and doing enough to win. And the Chiefs defense the Chiefs offense and defense can never be on the same page, which is unfortunate, but they showed us in 2019 that you don't need an elite defense to win a championship. So I went off on a tangent, but yeah. Hey Tony, I do appreciate it, and shout out to everybody that's watching this live stream right now. I am going to try to do a post game on Sunday. I mean, after the post game show, we'll do a post game live stream. Get your thoughts on the matter, but I also apologize for the lack of content. My life is getting really, really busy, and I want to make YouTube a bigger priority, but right now it's really, really difficult to produce a ton of content. But I will say, getting off on a slight tangent, that kcsportsreport.com is in the works. And I think that, once my website gets published, there's going to be a lot more terms or a lot more content in terms of videos and even writing articles. And that's a space in which Chiefs fans that I employ will be allowed to write opinionated pieces on the Chiefs and give their perspective. And I think that's going to be a really good thing in terms of the content. What's up, LA? You should be in here right now, but let's see. So yeah, lots of stuff is in the works though, folks. What do you think the teams that will beat the Chiefs? I said initially coming into the season that the Bills week 5 and the Chargers later this year. I think that a lot of stuff has changed now. I still see this team winning 14 to 15 games. I mean, let's be real here. Last year after they lost to the Raiders, they didn't lose again until they chose to lose against the Chargers. So I don't expect them to go on this long losing streak. It's just not going to happen. Do you think that Ward will survive against the Chargers? He'll blow a couple coverages. Hopefully it's not too bad. But if he looks really, really bad, he should be benched. Let's be honest here. Hey, I appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. Let's see. Yes, sir. Coming up with a bunch of different ideas. There's no way the Chargers will beat KC this Sunday. Hey, any given Sunday, man. Anything is possible. I mean, if you would have told me that the Ravens would have beat us with a banged up roster with no offensive line, I would have said you're crazy, because I kind of thought the Chiefs could win this game or that game by like 2 touchdowns, and they didn't. And I think that that's partly because they treated that game as a pushover. We just got to show up. We just got to do the bare minimum, and we're going to win this game. But Lamar Jackson balled, and I think that you've got to have that mentality of every game is so important, because if you don't, you're going to lose. I mean, heck, we've seen this in the past. If the Chiefs don't take an opponent lightly, they might win the game, but it's going to be much closer than it had to be. What are your off-season thoughts in 2022? Well, that's a long way away. The cap space is going to be a problem. The draft will be interesting. Sign a pass rusher. Hopefully the Chiefs are Super Bowl champs. But we're just got to wait and see. That's a long way away. Do you think Chris Jones and Frank Clark are going to crush Justin Herbert? No. Every video has to have a Frank Clark rant in it at some point. I don't think Frank Clark is going to do anything. I just think that you can't come into any game expecting Frank Clark to do anything, because you're just going to get disappointed. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, and it looks like it hasn't really gotten a lot better. He played in week 2. He set the edge, but hell, if you're going to pay anybody to set the edge, you don't have to pay him $100 million. I'll set the edge for free. I said this on Twitter. I genuinely believe I could have the same impact as Frank Clark, because Frank Clark, he doesn't do anything in terms of getting to the quarterback, applying pressure. I guess he sets the edge. He get a lot of other guys to set the edge for much cheaper, but that's just kind of where the Chiefs are at right now. They overpaid and they're stuck with it. But I do think this is Frank Clark's last year with the Chiefs. But maybe he'll surprise me. Maybe he'll get 8 sacks. That would be a bonus. But my expectations for Frank Clark are at the absolute bottom. I mean, that's just the harsh reality of the situation. But yeah, guys, get the questions in. We got about 5 to 10 minutes left of the live stream. I do appreciate the turnout. I probably should schedule them later or earlier because Thursday night football always gets conflicting times with the live stream. I don't even know who's playing right now. But yeah, hopefully that Chiefs game on Thursday night football, I think they play the Chargers, will be a good one. I know we keep talking about other games, but Chiefs got to take this game seriously. This is going to be a game in which I think comes down to the wire. I think that the Chiefs might get a lead, but the Chargers are going to fight back. The Chargers are not going to give up. Now, I guess I haven't done this yet. For final score predictions, I think that this one's a tough one because, I could also see this being a 21-17 kind of affair, but I could also see the Chiefs putting up 28-35 and the Chargers also put up like 28. So I think that based off of how both of these defenses have played in the previous 2 weeks, I'm going to go with the high scoring game. Give me Chiefs 35, Chargers 28. I think the Chiefs are definitely going to come out with a fire on offense. And like I said before, I think this game is going to come down to which defense can make a stop. Whichever defense makes more stops, they're going to win this game. And I hope it's the Chiefs defense, obviously. But it's tough. I cannot say definitively that this Chiefs defense is going to do the job because that's just, you can't do that. Oh, Carolina and the Texans. Yeah, I mean those teams aren't good, so I wouldn't expect the game to be good. Ooh, this is a good comment. Tony says, Michael, I enjoyed your training camp videos. I couldn't go this year, but yours was great. I want to see you at Arrowhead. I have a little gripe with the Arrowhead security. I went to the 3rd preseason game against the Vikings, and I was going to try to record something following the game. Ended up not getting kicked out, but they're like, hey, you got to leave. And I'm like, dude, like, this is kind of my job. Like, I need to be able to do this. And they're like, dude, we don't care. So, I would say I'll be a Chiefs game this year, but, if they're not going to let me record following the game, it takes a big aspect of me going out of it because, you have to be able to look at the game. And honestly, the view on TV would probably be better than the views that I could get at the game. I mean, obviously there's something said for being at the game. The crowd is always rocking. I mean, that crowd week 1 was electric and I wasn't even there, but yeah, I mean, maybe I'll get out there this year, but we're just going to have to wait and see because like I said, I was not too happy with Arrowhead security. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl for the NFC? Got to go with the Bucs. Unfortunately, no one in the NFC right now, at least to me, actually has a chance. I mean, maybe the Packers if they come out of left field, but let's look at it right now. I mean, you got the Packers, the Bucs. I can't think of anybody else, at least right now. I mean, looking at the other divisions, maybe the Cardinals or the Seahawks or one of those teams, but I mean, let's be real here. The Bucs have a god squad, and they're going to run through the NFC, at least in my opinion. Oh yeah, Rams are also a good choice, Aaron. I forgot about them, but even then, like, how far is Matt Stafford going to take them? It's just. The defense is good, and Cooper Kupp had like 38 points in fantasy the other day. So that is their offense is good, but we're gonna have to wait and see because I don't know if they have the firepower to beat the Bucs. Yeah, I personally, I said this in my why the Chiefs are gonna win the Super Bowl video. I think it's gonna be Chiefs Bucs rematch. I just have had that thought in my mind for a while now. I think that they're going to be the two best teams in the NFL. Uh, when it's all said and done, the season's over. Those are definitely the two best. And I think that we're probably going to see a rematch. And, I want to see how the defense progresses, because if the defense gets significantly better, we're going to have a good shot to win that game. But at the same time, we've got to show something in terms of a defensive improvement, or you're not going to get back to that game. You're not going to beat the Browns again if you play like you did against the Browns. You're not going to beat the Ravens if you play the way that you did. I mean, those are two teams that are probably going to make the playoffs and are going to be fighting to dethrone you. And you've got to find a way to not let that happen. So, yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Well, guys, with that being said, we are 55 minutes in. I'm starting to lose my voice. It's been a long day, but yeah, I have the Chiefs winning this game against the Chargers 35-28 in week 3, but it should be a great matchup. I think it's definitely going to be one that is entertaining through all 4 quarters. And again, I think this game is very important. We're going to have to see how this defense responds to adversity. We've seen in the past that, hey, even though this defense does not start off good, they find a way to get it done as the season goes through. And I think that that's probably going to be the same thing that happens this year. But you got to see some improvement this week, because if you don't, the Chargers are going to win. So that's definitely where I'm at right now. But yeah, I guess in terms of the offense, I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes throws for 304 touchdowns. Travis Kelce will have over 100 yards receiving. I think that Tyreek Hill will probably have over 100 too. Clyde's going to have under 100 rushing yards. I would like to see more, but I think that's unrealistic at this point. I'm going to go with, I think Byron Pringle or Mecole Hardman will have a touchdown. I think that's probably going to happen. And I think that going over the defense, I hope Chris Jones gets a sack. I don't think that Frank Clark will, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, with that being said, that wraps up the week 3 preview against the Chiefs and the Chargers. I hope you guys enjoyed. I do appreciate the fan support, you guys getting out here on a Thursday night when I had to compete with Thursday Night Football. I'm glad that I was able to entertain some of you. But with that being said, guys, I do appreciate you watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow the show on Twitter. That's at KC Sports Report. And Instagram, that's KC_Sports Report. And yeah, I'll be back here on Sunday following the game with my post-game show, and then hopefully a post-game live stream. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you watching this video, and have a great rest of your Thursday night.